Yeah, hi Sri Krishna. How are you?
Yeah, hi Sanjeev. Yeah, good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, all good, man. Hi Mohammed, hi Nabil.
Yeah,
Uh,
hi. Hi, Sri.
just wanted to understand how you guys are making progress. You guys struggling or how is it going?
Yeah, I'm also struggling. Uh,
Yeah, I
So,
joined. Sorry to interrupt. I joined a little late on the classes, so I'm just catching up.
okay,
Yeah, kind of juggling between work and this as well. So yeah, not much update from me, but yeah, hopefully, probably in the next session if there's one.
sure. So basically, if you have seen the previous recording or the session number one, we're going to build a container image, then we're going to build a machine image. And then in the part three, we are going to create infrastructure from that. Hi, Rajesh. I can't hear you. You are on mute. We can't hear you.
It's early morning here, so
Yeah. Where are you right now? Like so
I'm in
cold.
Toronto.
Okay, awesome. I got lots of friends there. All right. So how do we make progress? I wanted to check with people who have not done the demos or things in the part one and two so far. So we involve them as well. And
Yeah, I was a little behind. I'll be sending you and the whole project.
as a video.
Yes,
Awesome.
and
That would be great. Why I was insisting it helps the channel and the community will post it over there so people who are not able to purchase or make investment, but learning shouldn't stop. So we'll post it there. Also, it helps in the like the actual outcome. What we want is not just the project alone, right? We want you to build a story that is a complex project where you handle the building the container images, the machine images of company, and then creating infrastructure using that. So that is the overall story I want you to build and project it based on your requirement, 3 months to 6 months kind of project. If you are being working in a legacy, some other area which is not DevOps and cloud. So build that story. That is the main objective where people are struggling identifying these projects in their resume. Build that story that you have done these three different small projects and how they collectively come together to build that complete end-to-end solution.
that's right.
So I will encourage, record that video. It will improve, it will help you to build. First, you have to convince yourself that you have done this over a period of 3 months, 6 months, and then uh, because when you are working in the production environment for a specific customer, there will be a lot of overheads, processes, reviews at every stage, test deployments, then non-prod deployments, and then production deployments and staging and all that different environments, whatever you have. So we are bypassing only that process and that red tape that happens within the organizations. That's why I'm saying it's a very much like a three months kind of project, and you can easily explain depending upon how well you construct that story. So the video recording will help you build that story for yourself. So you can do that in small parts if you want, or you can do that complete solution showcasing. Start with maybe a diagram or something, the overall structure, overall outcome that you are going to produce, and then maybe highlight a bit of code and all that sort of thing. And eventually, there should be 3 repositories in your GitHub, whether you create videos or not, but 3 different repositories in your public GitHub, and make sure that you have the link of that GitHub added to your resume, and there shouldn't be any secrets there. So this is the main outcome that we would, that would be a very positive thing. If we can achieve this level of understanding, then you have to just justify what you did. Okay, so how do we progress? I'm not sure. I wasn't actually hoping that there would be demos today. So if that is the case, we can talk about the solution or any doubts you have or anything else that we want to, and the demos we can have maybe in the next week, or we can have other sessions next week organized. We can do extra sessions or whatever it takes for you to be confident that you have done the project. The WhatsApp group will be alive. What I was thinking, will not decommission it or do anything with it. It will still be there. So even if you are finishing this next month or anything of that sort, right? You are stuck somewhere. Some of the people have completed part 1, 2. Some people are now, getting the recordings and then they are coming. So we will keep it live for 1 or 2 months. So if there are any issues you find, or you going further deep down, because we have not restricted this. We made it a slightly generic project so that even Azure people can create a similar sort of infrastructure with subnets and VPC that we have demonstrated on AWS. So you can do that on Azure if you want to. If you want to, right now you did on Jenkins and you think in your organization they are using Azure DevOps or GitLab or anything else, you can try to build it on that other platforms as well. So if you think the first AMI that we created, it was using shell script provisioner, and you want to use Ansible, you can try that. And then there are people around so they can help each other. So even if you are behind, don't drop the ball, like just continue, keep making progress, keep building on top of it. That's why I suggest, even if you have not done part 1 and 2, part 1 was to build the AMI, part 2 to build the Docker image. If you have not been able to do, part 3 is where you have most of the learnings, a lot of these routing and the connection between load balancer to your until your EC2 instance. Lot of other things like user data script, how that will be sent to the instance. So a lot of learnings, and you can expect a lot of questions from these areas. The Packer pipeline was more to differentiate you when you were talking about in your interview. If somebody is not bringing Packer and you add that as a skill set, it may be a differentiator in future. So, but part 3 is where you have a lot of differentiation to, like a lot of interview questions to manage. So how do we go about this one?
Yeah, I'm stuck with project 2, and I couldn't complete that. It is like I build up CI/CD pipeline. So inside that CI/CD pipeline, I couldn't run the Docker commands. So it's actually saying that you have no permission, but I connected the Docker sock, all those things, but I stuck with that. I'm still struggling, and I hope I'm doing well. I will. Yeah.
So I didn't get the problem. What exactly is the issue?
It means I created a CI/CD Docker container, and inside that container I created a CI/CD pipeline, and I'm doing the Docker job inside that CI/CD pipeline.
Okay,
So
that's fine. That's how, like all other platforms, they create a Docker image, and that's more of your build agent basically.
yeah, then I run the Docker commands there, but it's actually saying that you have no permission to run the Docker commands. Inside that container. But I connected the -v Docker sock to that Docker daemon, but still struggling that. But yeah, I will.
Maybe we can take a look when your could be your environment specific thing, very specific to what you are building, because you saw some of the video. Have you seen the videos that we did last for this session 3?
Yeah, the Shmi. Yeah, I saw that video, but I couldn't catch that.
They have listed their public repositories also in the group. So take a bit of help from there. The challenge would might be because of the Java version you are not building properly, or could be anything that your environment specific. So just take a look at the README file also. So you are with the right version of the Java.
Yeah.
If you still struggle, then let's get on to a one-on-one call and we can investigate what that specific issue is.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So we'll bring it to a level where your Docker image is building, and then you take on from there onwards.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Anybody, like, I thought there was some progress by few people. I don't think Dinesh or some other folks who have joined. How do we take it then? Should we wait for people to finish it, or any other question they have in the oral solution?
We were reading the WhatsApp chat. So since port 22 is not to be opened, so we have to get in through NAT gateway or other bus station host. So I mean, we can discuss a little bit that.
Yeah. So let me share that structure. Share my slide again. Use the WhatsApp thing so that I'm not sharing. Can you guys see the screen now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, we do have a NAT gateway and we have an internet gateway as well. However, the instances are in the private subnet. So the outbound internet is possible from NAT gateways. There will be routes from your private subnet to NAT gateways for anything going out, right? But inside, it will only be public subnets that can connect with private subnets. So the requirement to open port 22, right? It's very sort of insecure way of doing opening the connectivity with any instance. So now every cloud provider giving multiple options. AWS has actually 2 or 3 different options where you can connect to an EC2 instance. Look for there was. Did I mention?
I think they recently introduced.
There is a recently introduced EC2 connect option also.
Yeah.
But again, that I have myself not tried that option. I would suggest you look at the SSM option where you don't connect through SSH. So SSM is if you have access to the AWS account, then and the EC2 instance, then you will be able to connect through your command line just like SSH, but it will not require you to open port 22. Also, you can from your browser itself, you can connect to that instance in the AWS console. That is one option if the SSM is enabled. That's why we installed the SSM agent on the AMI when we started the AMI creation process. So that is the idea, that it will not have access to public, or rather it will not be open to public, or will not be 22 will not be open, and we will not have any bastion or any another additional machine in public subnet that can access, because that again it's a hack available, but will not use that.
But in
That is the
real life,
challenge.
do we use SSM or mostly it's a remote only?
The SSM allows you to connect over command line as well. You can still connect from your laptop even if it is on SSM. So in companies, you will not have, like when I was giving example last time, I studied a bit of Azure at that time. It's very relevant to AWS also. And basics, I did like very basic stuff, creating instance, installing web servers and websites. When I moved to the organization, like when I got certified and everything, I'm talking about 2016 time frame. And then I moved to a project, and there I went, and by mistake, one of the team member created a public EC2 instance, which was a massive in the Azure public IP VM. It was a major escalation and major issue. People don't do public IP or don't open port 22. SSM is the way to go. That's why they have given another further option. I think SSM behind the scene uses SSH itself, but it is like managed by AWS roles, etc. So that's why given another option to connect it even more secure, because security is always one of the focus that AWS has to do. Otherwise, they are not able to penetrate into a lot of banking space and the insurance, and people are more concerned that how do we move our critical workloads to cloud? How do we secure them? So any taxation agency or in the respective country, so any such public sector companies, they have a lot of concerns on security. So they are always trying to fix this. So even if you do SSM, there may be a chance that people are expecting or working in the organizations going next level and using EC2 connect service. So, but yeah, port 22 is never a good idea. As many less ports, the specific ports, even these different tools, if like it will not be just the application running, there will be other security products like Security Hub, Trusted Advisor in AWS account. So they will keep throwing these errors that you see your instance is open to public or your instance is open on port 22, that sort of issues. It will keep highlighting that there are now different, better ways to secure your infrastructure. So
they recently introduced some endpoints.
EC2 connect endpoint or something. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
that is I think it's very similar to NAT gateway kind of service, which will be in public subnet and accessible. I have not tried it myself. I read the blog, and we could not try this in the organization where I am working, but I know that there is some more enhancement there. I think it's more of a service in the public subnet. First, you connect to that service, and then that has access to the instance. But I'm not sure on the fine details of that.
and also like you discussed baking the Git and the startup data to be baked right away in the EC2 itself, so that you can connect it to that.
No. So no. We are not baking the code or anything in the image. We just installed Git. Maybe that's what
No,
was
the
the
agent.
suggestion.
You said Git agent.
Yes. Correct. Git client should be installed just in case. So there are different ways. Now, when you start the EC2 instance, there is a user data file that runs on the instance startup. So that feature we want to use so that it can pull the Docker image that we have built and run the container. And it will run on, say, port 8080, and then load balancer will listen on port 80 or 443 and then route to this specific instance. That is the setup, right? So this pulling of the image, running the image run as a container and connect to a specific RDS cluster, that is dynamic thing. That is not static. So we can't build that into image. That will be done at runtime. In case our RDS endpoint changes, it's RDSX something .amazon.com and it crashes or whatever we want to change this for any reason. In that case, also it's a bit of dynamic thing. It can change at runtime. So that all that will be part of user data script. The challenge that person was asking was, how do I move that file to the instance, or how do I provide that file to the instance? So there are multiple ways that within, because he was referring a Docker Compose file or another shell script or anything like that. So that file movement is required, and there are multiple ways. Like you can have do a git pull. Challenge with git pull is you need to have SSH keys on the instance, which is again not a secure practice. What I have seen people following is, if we were using Ansible for one of such project, and then Ansible and AWS modules. So there we don't have feature of provisioners. Terraform offers a external provisioner to be used, so that feature can be tried. The third option is moving that file to an S3 bucket, and then EC2 instance can pull it from S3 bucket, that sort of thing.
So in such cases, will there be any vault issues or any key related issues?
Any? Sorry, which kind of issues?
Like a vault or the keys?
The EC2 instance, for example, if you are pulling from an S3 bucket, then your CI/CD process at the end of the process will have to write the file to an S3 bucket, so that it's a generic bucket and file which can be picked up. So file should be available in the S3 bucket, and the EC2 will need to have permissions to read from that S3 bucket. So that should be possible. That permission has to be assigned to that EC2 instance. And if you are going to pull from Git, then yes, then there is a credential issue. How do you manage the credentials? Then it's a bit of a challenge. Putting SSH keys into the instance is not right approach. So either we make the Git repository accessible on HTTPS or something of that sort has to be explored. But if you are using Terraform, then there is another feature where you can use remote provisioners. So that allows that file to be available to EC2 instance. I think one of these three options is something we can go with.
So recently, this HashiCorp bought some Indian company, Blue Bracket or something, for managing dynamic vault. Do you have any comments on that?
No, I'm not sure what is the.
It's like making the credentials dynamic.
Okay.
So you don't have to store it; it automatically encrypts, and then you can like port anywhere.
Mm-hmm. But that's anyway. You don't have, even with Secret Manager or with Vault also, you can dynamically get the secret value. So it's possible with existing tools also. Maybe there is some additional feature that product might be offering, but that will become very complex to handle within the scope of this project, but can be explored, that kind of stuff.
But they're saying it's easier to handle.
Even HashiCorp claims that Vault is much easier to manage and much more secure than anything else. But I would suggest, like, if the organization is not specifically requesting for such thing, stick to the cloud provided secret management product. It integrates seamlessly that you don't have to do a lot of overhead of because then the issue is if you have your credentials, you have to manage, for example, read from a secret manager in AWS. You can, and your service is EC2, you can assign a specific role to it and you can request for those credentials. You have provisions within the cloud native services. If that integrations are possible. The first challenge comes with such thing is that if you have Vault or any other secret manager, where is the secret zero going to be? You first have to authenticate with that provider itself. So eventually you will end up putting that somewhere. So that secret zero becomes a sort of first challenge.
On this same topic, I guess, so in large organizations, usually we have an LDAP account to access different services. So how does that fit in to the DevOps space? Is that something that a DevOps person needs to be aware of, or at least in the interviews, how do we answer those kind of questions?
Definitely. Yeah. So identity access management is definitely a very key question. Usually it's more for slightly senior roles where they are like going for architect role or that sort of role. A lot of IEM related stuff and how you are going to federate the access to your AWS accounts and multi-account strategy and those kind of stuff. So it's very, very important in that area. Again, it all depends what the context is, but good understanding of that IAM and how you are going to provide access to your users is definitely an important area. But specific question, if there is anything, then yeah, we can look at that. But it's definitely a very key area. If you see these services, right? All these services independently, they can't achieve much, right? And an EC2, for example, just to make a file available to EC2, we need an S3. So we need to provide the access. So most of the time within the organization, people who are working would be aware. They are not troubleshooting. They are not working on DevOps or pipelines or those sort of things. They are working on access related stuff and they are working on networking related stuff. So they are trying to identify which is the right service and how to integrate and make sure that only this service has access to this resource. That is what your 50, 60, 70% of the effort is. Building a pipeline and all, after a while, you understand they are using GitLab or they are using Azure DevOps, or you get used to that. And that won't take a lot of time. That would be just some percentage of your day-to-day work, and you will be very fast and accurate on that. Like you will know that you have a template available and you can refer that and that sort of thing. But biggest challenge is on any new project or any existing project, you're making some change, you're bringing a new service. How do you make that those two services interconnected? So the connection is possible because of networking, and then the access is possible because of IAM access. And once these two things are there, then once you have networking, once you have access enabled, then the services start talking to each other, and a lot of your, even if you read from online someplace, things will start moving, right? You read something, they probably won't tell you how to make sure that access is there and networking is there, but rest of the concepts will be there. Then it becomes easy. So I would say 50, 60, 70% of the time goes into a lot of these networking related stuff and access related stuff. Because access, you can't start with an admin level access. You have to start with minimum possible access permissions that service would require, and then you add on top of that. The access, this is within the, say, for example, Azure and AWS. This is within the access providing to different services. There is also access to individual people. That is where your Azure ID and the other identity providers will come into picture. For example, right now we were talking about a scenario where an AWS or an Azure service needs access to another AWS or Azure service. So that is that challenge that I was talking. There is another aspect of access is you joined a company and you need access to certain AWS accounts, and you have only got your Azure AD created so far. So that is the other part of it where you have to configure the right roles. What I have seen, like mostly it would be a specific role will be configured in the Azure Active Directory, and then those will be given access to the AWS, depending upon whether they are developers, support engineers, or whatever the role is. Based on that, different permissions will be configured, and that's how single sign-on happens from Azure login. You log into your laptop through your Azure ID, and from there you log into your AWS account using those credentials. But usually that is one time or very less frequent changes with less frequency. The biggest thing is within the cloud, different services talking to each other.
Don't they create a like a kind of DevOps group in IAM and make you the
No.
member of that?
No,
And
no.
then maybe the DevOps guy can get a little finer.
Yes, the groups get created, but where that group has to be created, it won't be in your AWS groups.
Mm-hmm.
It will not be, usually it's not in the AWS managed. AWS will have some roles assigned, and Azure will have, like in Azure, you will define that this person has to get this specific role. So for example, I think it will become a lot of detailed on multi-account and that kind of strategy. But what happens is that if you have, say, an AWS organization setup, you have a master account and you have multiple child accounts and OUs set up, right? That's how. Let me pull something quickly and see if I can get. I'm not sure if this is the right one, but let's go ahead with this diagram. This is the multi-account. You can see my screen, right? Yeah. So when we are using, typically, I won't say everyone, but most of the companies will have Azure ID, their Azure accounts gets created. Even if any organization is on GCP or AWS, usually they will have a bit of Azure always. Their Outlook, Office 365, and the Azure AD will still be will be used. So usually it starts with that Azure AD. Azure AD you will set up an application there where you will say that this person is belonging to this role and how he get access to the AWS. Once he logs into AWS, he will log in with a specific role. So he will be assigned a role. That role will have further permissions that can he go to core account? Can he go to infrastructure account? Can he go to security account? That role will be defining rest of the process. And hardly you will see anyone creating users or groups or anything of that sort in the AWS organizations. AWS still has that those features because they need to, in case of somebody is not using Azure AD or that sort of thing, just for the completeness point of view, you can create DevOps users and DevOps groups in AWS, but they hardly get consumed.
This will be the structure through federated also?
Yes. use it all the time. We log into the master account using your Azure credentials, and then you
And
can
just give the pragmatic.
yes,
bit.
you can. You will have different roles assigned, and based on the role assigned to the user, then the access drives from there. I wish I could show it, but that would take me to the organization pages and that sort of thing. So that will be not right. But if anybody is looking, I have done like AWS landing zone setup for few customers. So we did it few times.
The landing zones and all, they're all managed services, right?
Yes,
So,
but you still need.
AWS manages everything. You just give them who is to be given what permission. So they will take care of everything.
Exactly. So all your account management but the defining the roles and ensuring that the person is actually logging in from Azure or any other SSO provider. Even AWS has its own SSO. So yeah, but yeah, rest of the service is sort of AWS managed, but it can get really complicated, and you need to get good understanding, need to ensure the right policies are used, but it will be, it's very much doable.
And another question was like regarding RDS. Recently, they did some changes that like for a multi-zone RDS. Like if you want to put the RDS in different regions.
Okay.
So
different regions. Okay.
Yeah, different. I mean, now you have to take minimum 3 to use the RDS for multiple. So how do we have to do anything, or this is all just managed anyway? So you just
for this project's sake, I would suggest keep it in one AZ, keep it single AZ. Again, I think I mentioned it somewhere, just to reduce
here
the cost.
because we are using free account, so we are like targeting minimum expenses.
Yes. So yeah,
But in
that's what I'm saying.
real life,
Correct. It will never be single AZ. Even in our dev account, we use multi-AZ RDS just so that we are matching our production environment. We never do single AZ RDS even in our non-prod stuff, because there you want to test in a like-to-like environment. You don't want to test it in a dev environment which is not really matching with non-prod and prod environment. So that's the suggestion, because the cost of the RDS taking is much less compared to an individual effort. So that trade-off is there. But for us to do the POC, we can go with a single AZ setup as well. And maybe if somebody has some credits or doesn't mind, like if you do it with Terraform, you can create it for 10-15 minutes, test it, and then deprovision it.
but they have done some changes that now you have to do minimum 3.
Okay.
So I don't know how to design that thing with Terraform. How you will put?
No. I don't think there would be
subnets. You're using 2 zones, right? You're making like one private, one public, and 2 private zones, subnets. Sorry, and you're using 2 zones. But to use RDS, you have to have 3 zones. So how will you make that?
That doesn't. I don't think that would be an option where you're by default they are suggesting to do it on 3 different AZs, but your endpoint will be consistent, one single endpoint. So for you it won't matter. they may be suggesting earlier, probably they had at some places two AZs, two data centers. Now they have three default with every location. So maybe they are going, but it could be a new feature or new option that they are suggesting. Or maybe you're talking about a multi-region kind of thing where you are putting RDS across two regions. So that's a
No, as your diagram shows, multi
AZ.
AZ
It's AZs are within the same region.
RTS. So so you cannot have two and the two zone RDS. That will be only single only. But if you want to have multi AZ,
So
it
then
has
you
to.
need three. Don't
So
worry,
how
then it's managed by you will not have to worry about that. Your endpoint is going to be one single consistent endpoint. That's it.
how you will design that with Terraform?
Terraform, you will just say a parameter which will say multi-AZ.
Okay, okay.
So in the code, when you
Good.
are creating multi-AZ, and if there are additional parameters required because of multi-AZ, like any specific zone A, B, C you want, you will have to provide that, or you go with default. But your code will not change much. You can always switch that from multi-AZ to single AZ anytime.
So there is another problem. Was trying with when you define like zone A, it doesn't work. You have to have B and C. Multi AZ only B
That
and
means
C.
by default, it's recommending three AZs.
Right. So
Then you just put one A, B, C, or if I think even if you don't do it, it will take three by default. You specify multi-AZ and it will make sure. If you force A and B, then it will complain. But if you don't specify A, B, I think it will take three.
if you take A, then other option doesn't come at all.
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe the things was down, but I tried. It didn't come. So you try B
That's
and C, and then it comes.
yeah.
So I think that is the kind of setup they have.
But you will not have to worry. That's AWS suggesting that I am managing your data across three AZs.
Mhm.
So you don't worry. You have to worry less. But for you, it's going to be a single endpoint.
And you were going to tell something about monitoring.
Did we? Monitoring is I have kept an like I was thinking if you guys can eventually at some stage get the logs of this Docker containers that are running into CloudWatch logs, but that would again need additional services, additional setup to be done because these are not public instances, private instances. So that I have left as a stretch goal. Once you achieve these things, target that also. Logs monitoring and pushing your logs from different sources. Logs are relatively cheaper to manage, and then they give a lot of value compared to the cost that you spend. So you can connect it to your additional um, log management or other softwares later on. Sumo Logic or Datadog or a lot of other things, but they all hook to your CloudWatch. So you try that, but it will take time. So I kept it as a stretch goal that try that sort of thing.
Like nowadays, Splunk and Dynatrace.
Yeah. So many options there, and that again because it's usually there is one such monitoring software. CloudWatch is not sufficient. CloudWatch is just to connect the remaining any new software, anything that you have. It could be like Dynatrace or so many monitoring things available. So depending upon the use case, people will select that and, and they will require CloudWatch connection.
Okay.
Correct. It all depends what's the volume of the logs, how many instances you are going to. Some of these softwares or some of these monitoring tools will have license based on the number of instances from where they are coming. So if you have 200 EC2 instances, 200 licenses. Some will say, I don't care about the machine, how much of data you are injecting. So their license works based on the amount of data you are injecting. So that's where we did analysis on Datadog and Sumo Logic and selected Sumo Logic as preferred because they don't go by the number of instances, go by the amount of data, and data is something we can control. So if my Docker image, I'm not, if it is not critical, I will probably not send information messages and warning messages and only look for error messages. That will cut down my cost.
But normally they put this monitoring on site, or they still use the managed services, SaaS services, and also like a normal CloudWatch is for 7 days only. So this one is also you plan for 7 days or more, or
once it goes to the say Sumo Logic or Datadog, they usually manage for number of years, and their storage options are like much cheaper. So for any compliance point of view, you can again use those products. But whether to use on-prem or that's a different that's all situational, right? Startups and other companies may not have any challenge their logs going onto a SaaS platform and external, but banks and all these things, they would want it to be managed. So that's why you will say they mostly going for, they will not go for Sumo Logic and all because they don't offer that on-prem installation and that sort of thing. So they will go for Splunk and different solutions. So that depends on the industry.
About NAT gateway, can we use that NAT instance like that is facilities there in AWS?
Is it still possible to do that instance?
I'm not sure, but yeah, that option is we see like a solution if you don't have to pay like extra bucks for doing
It's
things.
usually not recommended. Like,
but that's a lot
hardly
of
I-
headache, lot of work.
because that solution is not scalable, right? You can put an instance and you will have, if there are 500 instances and for example, you push an upgrade which uses this NAT instance and all 500 or many more servers need any sort of upgrade, they're going to crash your instance and a lot of other security issues because you are managing that instance. So it's possible.
Right, yeah. For big companies, yeah, it is not doable. But for like static website or small companies, I think we can use, right? If you have budget issue kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. You can use that for doing the proof of concept and testing. That's why I do it with multiple options. Even for sending that file, I was suggesting try with Git repository, S3, and then remote provisioners. Multiple options are there. But be aware that which is the better option. So what should be spoken in the interview or what should be used in the industry is slightly different. You may in your POC, you can play around with cheaper options and easier options. And I don't think NAT gateway is gonna be that expensive also because data transfer is not there for the use case that we have. So won't be much data transfer cost, etc. So it shouldn't be that expensive as well.
For tasting, I think, yeah, it will not cost, I think, even $1. I'm not sure. So yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so we'll discuss more in the WhatsApp group then, and we will probably set up more sessions. we may not be able to do all the demos or anything further we want in one session maybe. So we'll see what options we have, either extend this into next month or we do more sessions in next week. Problem is they will fall on weekdays. So you keep letting me know if you want feedback or anything you want to discuss. So we'll set up maybe extra sessions.
So for part 3, will you are you going to share anything?
I can
Like,
share my repository where this is working. I can do that, but I'll probably let you guys build that solution first.
All right.
The only challenge with my repository is that will be at least 2 or 3 months old. So if anything has changed, it may need to be fixed. If you are using, and then you will have to be on the same Terraform version and same stuff. So, but I will let people come up with some solution and then share their outcome as well. Then it will be latest, and you would know the Terraform version what they are using. What else do we talk about? August batch. If you want to register, I have sent you the link. Again, I'm probably do the August batch and will probably not do any more from my side. Takes a lot of effort building the solution and joining everything together, and then day job and that sort of thing. So I'm getting help from other people. Few corporate trainers and other people want to take over, and maybe they will set up something after August. So if you are interested, I have already sent you the discount code and all. You can click on that link. I think the discount shows once you click the pay button or something. After that, it shows some real value, something. Some 2 or 3 people reached out and they said it's not showing a discount or something. But once you click on that link, then it applies. So let's see, we can make another such session, such batch, and then see. That's entirely Kubernetes specific, and we'll focus such 3 or 4 scenarios in Kubernetes and implement different pipelines. That sort of same, very similar to this one.
Was that link sent in WhatsApp or in Teams?
I used Document, like people who had registered. There is an option to send an email.
I don't seem to have received it.
So few people received it, so it has gone, but I'm not trusting TalkMate email thing. Few people have mentioned that they are not getting.
Okay.
I'll post it on WhatsApp group as well. I thought people must be studying and all. Let's not trouble them. Let them focus. Because I'm anyway troubling the other WhatsApp groups where.
So in this Kubernetes project, it is like a GitOps approach will be there, Argo CD?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
One of the project is deploying a web application to Argo CD. That is one of the project in that. Then we look at monitoring side as one project, setting up the cluster as one of the project. And more importantly, like there are a lot of interview questions, a lot of terms and different clients are possible for Kubernetes. So we'll discuss all those things, like which are the tools and what those tools offer. A lot of confusion. Even I had, like, should I use this tool or that tool? What does it offer? So we'll discuss on those. I'm still preparing, so when I'm studying and when I'm preparing the presentation, so I'll go detail, try to see what can add value that will be beneficial. So just trying to put together a similar presentation which we'll run through. I hope I recorded this. Yep, it's recording. Okay, should we close for today? And
Hey, Sanjeev.
yeah, hi.
Hey, how are you today?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Well, it's 6 o'clock for me in the morning here. So again, I tried to join again, and just to tell you that this particular project has been beneficial for me because first of all, I am pushing towards solution architect, but I really wanted to join this project, so I know from beginning, from DevOps to solution architects, what is the process is, and so far I understand the bigger view. What I realized throughout this experience for me was I am still lacking fundamentals, the basics, but I was able to complete part one of the project with some of the members in the group, uh, and the batch in August, will it be teaching basic the fundamentals or no?
So it will be very similar to this patch. Uh, Again, there will be 3 or 4 different small projects in there, which will try to build something bigger based on those components. But yes, there will be an element of starting from basics as well, because I have seen Kubernetes is not very straightforward to learn and a lot of confusion, which is the right client for connecting to Kubernetes, which all different deployments options are there, monitoring tools, there are multiple options. So the idea is I don't want to bring a very specific project which covers only some specific scenario, but gives you that thought process that okay, multiple options are possible. Which is the right option? Which I can choose? In which scenario I will select which option? So it will be a similar sort of thing where I will not restrict you that you create your cluster on Azure AKS or EKS or do it on your laptop, or because that allows us. AWS services are AWS specific. You can't do that on your own, but this allows you setting up cluster on your laptop. So will not restrict that, but will suggest if you follow any cloud provider setup. So from there, we will set up the cluster and we'll learn a bit of basics. We'll go through all the terminology that are possible. We'll go through all the best practices that are possible while setting up the cluster and the worker nodes. Then we'll go for next stage. We'll identify an application which has multiple Docker images, and then we'll try to different microservices basically and deploy that. Again, following GitOps approach. And then we'll look at how do we monitor this, what sort of data comes from Kubernetes cluster apart from the Docker logs that we are getting. So that's how it will be structured. So it will start with basics, but it will grow into something bigger project.
Okay, but that's not, you will be teaching basic. We're gonna have to
Yes.
Figure out.
You guys will have to, yes, again, similar sort of approach. You go ahead and build as per your bias. If your customers are on Azure, you try to build the same project in Azure, and then I'm sure like most of the people will do it on AWS as well. So we'll very similar thing. We'll share code, we'll share repository, we'll have demos. And if you are still struggling, I can always share my repository, and then you can get to know from there.
Okay. And the last thing is the reason why we are doing this project is so we can be interview ready when we have the opportunity to discuss projects like this. So are we going to have like a quick 15 to 20 minutes? Can we have a 15 to 20 minute interview regarding this project and how we can present it during an interview?
We can plan that. I'm open to that sort of thing. I haven't thought like that should we do that. But yeah, we can plan that. Let's start with July batch and see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay. So how do we do it? Next batch when we meet, next meeting, we'll have some questions and then we'll have that person, somebody else answer their questions.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
We can do that. Because anyway, I'm not recording more interviews. My other colleague who is joining, he's recording some of other mock interviews, not specific to this project. So you will see a mock interview coming tomorrow and day after for other roles. But we can always do sort of mock interviews, maybe 5 questions per person and that sort of thing. And then other people can pitch in that this was not the right answer or this could have been a better answer or that sort of thing. Let's do that.
Exactly.
Let me note
Thank
down.
you.
I'll come with maybe 20-25 questions and we'll have
Yep.
4 role plays.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I hope that that will help you to build that story. Eventually, that story building is the major outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah. So people reached out. What's that story? What, like, how do I build? So I said you have to first you build the project, convince yourself, then you will automatically start building a story. That you did this project for 3 months, 6 months, what issues you faced, what services you integrated, that sort of thing. All right, should we close? Any more questions before that? Before I stop the recording and.
Yes, regarding this story, like if you are saying like we can say like we have worked for this company like 3 months, 6 months. So if they ask like HR, what is the proof for you have worked for this particular company then?
No, I can't say that salary slips and those sort of things are not possible. For example, you are working with, just an example, you work with Infosys, but you are working on test automation. You are not working on or any other technology, right? Anything else. And you want to show that last 6 months you were working for your customer, which is your actual customer, say a bank X, and you are working on test automation, but to your new potential employer, you can say that you were working on a similar project, setting up their pipelines. That way, it's more effective. If somebody is fresher, they can add that part of their internship or part of their after they graduated, they did this for a small company or that sort of. That's possible because it could be an unpaid internship or that sort of thing. But yeah, if somebody has a career gap after 2 years, they are coming to DevOps or that, then it's a challenge because they don't have their other supporting documents to say.
Right. I think this internship thing, I think that can work.
If
Unpaid
somebody
or
is looking
paid.
for
Yeah.
a certificate or something, I can always produce that. I can, from my company, which is Bootcamp Experts, I can issue a sort of project completion certificate if you want.
Right, because whenever we apply in LinkedIn, I think all people are asking for only experienced candidates. So yeah, if this can work.
Let me know. Let me know. I'm open. Give me any template, anything. I will just print on my company's letterhead. I'm happy to print that and share it with you people. I'm doing that for a lot of interns. People are not getting opportunities. So my nephew who is studying in India, he was to do his internship. Now he starts 10th of August, his internship process, and a lot of people were struggling, like his batchmates. So I'm offering them that I registered a company here, and so I will issue them some certificate based on there, and they will help me build something on YouTube. That's the idea. I will engage them once they join me. So they will help me build some content, maybe some quiz or something based on I'm sharing them a Cloud Academy subscription that I have, and they will study that and share me some content. And then I will issue them the certificate. So same sort of thing you can request me. I can send it to you also. but I can't do salary slips. I can't do any other sort of things. That's not possible. All right, then. I'm then planning to stop here.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you
thanks,
so
Sanjay.
much.